Hello students, welcome to the class of Business Studies. I am N.K. Tukral from Edupedia World. Students, in the previous session, we discussed on planning processes and type of plans as well as objectives. Today I am going to talk on strategy in planning. Strategy as well as policies in planning we will talk on today the whole session. What is strategy? What is the meaning? Let me tell you, in general terms, the meaning of strategy is a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term objective. So means a plan, or you can say a document to be prepared to design what is the purpose to achieve a long-term objective. For example, in case of war, what is required? Definitely strategy is required. For what? For winning a war. So what is the objective? To win a war. So objective is to win a war, and how to plan, how to mobilize forces, how to send armors, how to send equipments and war material to the forces who are in the front, how to direct the officers, etc., etc. For all these, strategies are required. Various strategies are required so that objective is achieved. Now let me tell you what is the meaning of strategy. A careful plan or method for achieving a particular goal, usually over a long period of time, or the skill of making or carrying out plans to achieve a goal. In various types of businesses, various strategic plans are required to achieve objectives. What is strategic plan? Once we are having the meaning of strategy, the strategic plan meaning is a strategic plan is a document used to communicate with the organization goals, the actions needed to achieve these goals, and all of the other critical elements developed during the planning exercise. So this is what we can say strategic plan. Now students, let's go ahead. Let me tell you what is the definition of strategy. Strategy is a comprehensive plan made in response to change in the business environment to achieve organization objective. As you can see in the slides, it's very clearly given, a comprehensive plan made in response to changes in business environment to achieve organization objectives. So what is important in this definition? A comprehensive plan, a detailed plan. And what is the objective? Any objective can be there of any businesses and in the prevalent business environment. So to achieve organization objectives, a comprehensive plan needs to be drawn by the business person. Let me give you an example on this. A strategy where it would reduce the price of its products that had been in market for more than 90 days to reduce their inventory. So the objectives here is to reduce the inventory. Strategy provides the broad outlines of an organization business. Now students, let me tell you what are the dimensions of strategy. As you can see in the slides, there are 3 dimensions of the strategy. Number 1 is determining long-term objectives. Number 2, adopting a particular course of action. And number 3 is allocating resources. So determining long-term objective is number 1, means objectives needs to be drawn. Number 2, particular course of action. If some sort of action needs to be adopted for achieving objectives, and allocating resources which are necessary to achieve the goal. So these are all the 3 dimensions of any strategic plan. Further, I may tell you that a strategy is formulated to meet changes taking place in business environment. The changes in economic, political, social, legal and technological environment will affect an organization's strategy. Strategy involves preparing oneself for meeting unforeseen factors. Major strategic decisions will include decisions like whether the organization will continue to be in the same line of business or combine new lines of activity with the existing business or seek to acquire a dominant position in the same market. A company's marketing strategy may relate to the following question. What are the questions for the marketing strategy? Number 1, who are the customers? Number 2, what is the demand for the product? Number 3, which channel of distribution is to use? Number 3, what is the pricing policy? And further, how do we advertise the product? All these factors are very important in marketing strategy. For example, Pepsi and Coca-Cola are the competitor in the soft drink market. If Pepsi reduces the price of its product in the market, then the counter plan of Coca-Cola should be to maintain its market share may be considered as strategy. Now let's see what are the features of strategy. Number one feature is it is formulated by top management due to its relative importance. So formulated by top management. Always strategies are drawn up by top management due to its relative importance. Strategy is very important for any type of business. Number two is considered internal and external environment. So strategy is formulated after considering both internal as well as external forces and the prevailing external environment also. Number three is dynamic in nature. Strategy is always, it is said that it is a dynamic, as it is dynamic as it depends on ever-changing business environment. What is another feature? It provides guidelines for thinking and action. Always strategies provides the usual guidelines for thinking as well as taking an action. So students, I may tell you that the strategy formulation is done by the top management, so it is a process. It is a process by which an organization chooses the most appropriate courses of action to achieve its defined goals. Strategic plans should be communicated to all employees so that they are aware of the organization's objectives, mission and purpose. And also always internal and external environment is taken into consideration in formulation of strategy plans by the top management. Let's go ahead students, now talk on the policies. Let me tell you what are the policies. Policies are general statements that guide thinking or channelize energy towards a particular direction. In case of management, the set of basic principles and associated guidelines formulated and enforced by the governing body of an organization to direct and limit its action in pursuit of long-term goals. So this is what we can say a basic guidelines, we can say it's a policy. It is formulated by any business or anybody or business or non-business organizations. So policies basically, these are the guidelines, the general statement and which are channelized towards a particular direction. Let's take an example. The foreign policy of the newly formed government was to isolate itself from any foreign influence and attack any influences that might threaten the power of the government. This is a foreign policy, it means it is a document, it is written everything what government desires. In case of schools management, what is a schools policy on missed classes is that you must have a letter from a parent or a doctor excusing you from class time. So this is a policy of the schools management. Further, everyone was against the president's foreign policy because it had a negative effect on relations with many countries that the United States previously had close ties with. This is a prevalent circumstances. This is a policy of a particular government. Further, I may explain you about the policy that a policy is a deliberate system of principles to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. A policy is a statement of intent and is implemented as a procedure or protocol. Policies are generally adopted by the board of or senior governance body within an organization, whereas in contrast the procedures or protocols would be developed and adopted by senior executive officers. Policies can assist in both subjective and objective decision making. Mind it, they assist in both subjective and objective decision making, right? Policies to assist in subjective decision making would usually assist senior management with decisions that must consider the relative merits of a number of factors before making decisions, and as a result are often hard to objectively test, that is work-life balance policy. In contrast, policies to assist in objective decision making are usually operational in nature and can be objectively tested. So these are the policies, statement or guidelines. that thinking or channelize energy towards a particular direction. Now students, let's go ahead. Let's see what are the features of policies. Number one feature is policies are derived from objectives. They define the broad parameters within which a manager may use his discretion to apply the policy. Number two feature is policies are for all levels and departments. So there are policies for all levels and departments in the organization, ranging from major company policies to minor policies. Number three feature is provides basis for interpreting strategy. Policy provide a basis for interpreting strategy. They are guides to managerial action and decision in the implementation of strategy. Another feature is a general response to a particular problem. The policies pre-decide some issues, avoid confusion, and it becomes easier to resolve problems or issues. In short, policy is the general response to a particular problem or a situation. For example, policy of a company may be not to employ any person who is less than 18 years of age. So these are the features of policy. Now let's go ahead, students. Let's see how the policies differ from objectives. The comparison we can have. Number one is purpose. In case of policies, policies aim to determine how the work is to be done, whereas objectives aim to determine what is to be done. So in case of policy, how, and in case of objective, what is to be done. Second is period. In case of policies do not have a time dimension, whereas in case of objectives, organization may have a short and long-term objectives. Number three comparison of basis is need. In case of policies, although they are needed to achieve objectives, but an organization can exist without them. In case of objectives are basic and critical for the existence of an organization. Next is formulation. Policies are formulated by the manager of all levels, whereas in case of objectives, generally determined by top levels. Source. Policies are derived from objectives, whereas objectives are derived from goals. So these are the basis of differences between policy and objectives. So after having the comparison between policy and objectives, let's go ahead and see how the strategy differ from policies. Let's have a comparison between strategy and policies. Number one is purpose. In case of policies objective is to deal with the repetitive issues, whereas in case of strategy objective is to counter unforeseen problems or environmental threats. Second is validity. In case of policies remain valid for the situations or problems which are recurring in nature, whereas in case of strategies are single-use plans and designed to suit specific situations. Number three is role of competitors. In case of policies may not be formulated on the move of competitors, whereas in case of strategy, it is formulated after considering activities of the competitors. The another difference is hierarchy of plans. In case of policies which are supportive in nature occupy lower place in hierarchy of plans, whereas in case of strategies are considered to be superior and occupy higher place. So students, let me conclude on strategy and strategic plan. A strategic plan, ultimately we can say that it is a living document that changes and grows as the conditions around it change. If an organization recognizes that it must constantly be aware of the business world around it and must be flexible to the changes that will inevitably occur, then it will be in a position to adopt and modify its plans to achieve maximum success. So strategy in any type of business, it's a commercial or non-commercial, it's a school, anywhere, the strategy always needs to be drawn up for achieving a particular goal and looking into the environment also. So that's all for the students. In this session, as we have gone through the strategies and policies, in the next session, we will cover the procedures and methods. Thank you. Bye-bye.